Hi there, welcome to week 3 and clue 3 of the Trigpoint Shawl Mystery Knit Along. I can't quite believe we're at week 3. I hope you find this video tutorial useful. I just want to tell you, for this clue, just take one row at a time, okay? The stitch repeat is quite small, so hopefully you should get into the rhythm of things. And also, if you find that cabling without a needle isn't working for you, just use a cable needle, it's absolutely fine. And literally just take one row at a time and just do exactly what the instruction says, even when you're on the wrong side row and the cabling might feel a little bit strange. That'll make a bit more sense when you see the video, but I hope you find it useful, and please don't hesitate to get in touch either on the Facebook group or you can send me an email. My email address is at the bottom of the pattern. Okay, I hope you get on okay with clue 3, and I'll see you next time for clue 4. I've just worked row 1.1 of the setup rows with my yarn A, which is this chocolate brown colour, and I'm going to slide my stitches back along my needles to work row 1.2 of the setup with my yarn B, which is my speckled yarn. And I just want to show you how to do the double yarn overs. So I am slipping the slip stitch column as before, and then I am purling 4. And then I am making a double yarn over, so round. Now I make a double yarn over, but I've got to slip this next stitch, so I sort of have to make one yarn over, slip the stitch, and then wrap the other yarn over around the slip stitch. I'll just undo that and show you again. So I need to do a double yarn over, so 2 yarn overs. But if I do the 2 yarn overs and then slip that stitch, my yarn is going to be going in front of my slip stitch. So what you have to do is make 1 yarn over, then slip the stitch, and then make your second yarn over so that the yarn is staying at the back of the slip stitch, and then I can purl. I'll show you again. So make 1 yarn over, slip the stitch, and then make the second yarn over so that your yarn is coming behind, and then purl 4. So once more, I'm going to do a yarn over, slip the stitch, and then complete the double yarn over, and then purl 4. And one last time, 1 yarn over, slip the stitch, and then complete your yarn over twice. And just do that until you get to the last 5 stitches. Now I'm ready to work row 2.1 on the wrong side with my yarn A, and I want to show you, it's just purling along, but I want to show you what to do when you come to those sort of double yarn overs. So I'm going to just purl. Right, I've got one here, so this brown stitch here is my slip stitch column, so I'm going to purl that, and then I'm going to drop one of these yarn overs off and purl the one that's left, and then I'll purl along to the next slip stitch column, Okay, you just have to be careful here because, as you can see, the yarn over and the slip stitch column are quite close together. It's quite easy for them to get crossed over or for something to fall off the needles that you don't mean to. So purl the slip stitch column, then the first yarn over comes off and you purl the second one. I'll just show you once more. Okay, here's a good example here. The yarn over is actually crossed over the slip stitch, so just be careful that they stay where they're supposed to be. So the slip stitch column first, then get rid of one yarn over off the needle and then purl the second one. And just continuing along like that until you get to the last 3 stitches. So I've completed the setup rows for clue 3, and now I wanted to show you a kind of shortcut for doing the little travelling stitch cables in the main pattern repeat. So I'm just going to get along to where the little 2-stitch right leaning cable happens. This is for the first side of clue 3. If you're working the second side, you might be doing a left leaning cable. So for the right leaning cable, you can use a little cable needle to do it, but because it's just 2 stitches, there is an easy way to do it. So I'm going to, the stitch that you slipped on the wrong side row that's directly above the yarn over is going to swap places with this one to the right of it. So I'm going to knit the second stitch on my needle first, and then don't take the stitches off, but then knit the first stitch and then move them across, and you can see that they've swapped places. I'll knit along and show you again. So knit the second stitch, don't take the stitches off, and then knit the first stitch, take them both off, and they've swapped places. And I'll show you once more. So knit along till you get to the point where you're at the 2 cabled stitches. Knit the second one first through the front, don't take it off, and then knit the first one and take them both off, and they've swapped places. And you continue along with that until you get to the last 5 stitches. I've worked the rest of row 1.1 on the right side, and I've worked row 1.2 on the right side with my colour B, so I'm ready to work row 2.1 on the wrong side with my colour A, and I wanted to show you how to do the purled cables. So I'm just going to get along to that point. So I haven't found a great way to do these MKAL cables with a little shortcut that is, you know, straightforward enough to do, especially when you're working with quite fine yarn. So I would suggest you either use a cable needle for this, for the purl travelling stitch cables. So you need to put, so these are going to be right leaning cables. So again, we're swapping this travelling stitch, slip stitch one, the brown stitch here, with the pale speckled stitch here. Okay, but this pale stitch is going to come across in front, and when they swap places. So I'll put the brown, the first stitch, on the cable needle and hold that one at the back. Then I'm going to purl the next stitch, and then purl the stitch that's on the cable needle. And then purl along and get to the next one. And place the colour A stitch on the cable needle, hold it at the back, and purl the next stitch, and then purl the one on the cable needle. what I tend to do is pinch and hold the stitch instead of using a cable needle. So I'm going to, this is the brown stitch here is the one that I want to put on the cable needle. So instead of doing that, I'm going to slip it across to the right hand needle because I find it easier to take it off then with my left hand and hold it while I purl the next stitch, and then I can put that back on. So I'm kind of pinching it at the bottom, put it back on and purl it. I'll show you again. So the stitch that I'm going to pinch and hold, I move it across to the right hand needle tip because I find it easier then to take it off and pinch it. Then purl the next stitch. Then I usually hold it at the bottom to put it back on, and then I purl it. So you might like to try that way. Depends how you hold your needles. It works for me, it doesn't work for everybody. Otherwise you can use a cable needle for those purl stitches. I just wanted to quickly show you a little trick for doing the travelling stitch if you're doing the second side, the symmetric version. So you'll be doing a left leaning cable, travelling stitch cable. So what you need to do if you don't want to use a cable needle is a little trick that you can do involving the two stitches. So here's my travelling stitch column. It's going to move across to the left and the stitch next to it is going to go behind it. So from the back of the work you want to knit into the second stitch. Now I'm knitting it through the back loop there, strictly speaking, which means it's going to get twisted, but it doesn't matter too much because we're in garter stitch and also because it's going to go behind this other stitch, so it's not going to be seen. So I'll just do that again. So go into the second stitch on your needle from the back and put your yarn around and pull through the loop, but don't take the stitches off the needle. Then from the front of the work, knit into the slip stitch and then take them both off, and they've swapped places. So I'll just knit along and show you that again. Now I'm just using my first side sample here to show you, so just ignore all that. So here's my two stitches that are going to swap places. So from the back of my work I want to go into the second one, pull the loop through, but don't take the two stitches off the left hand needle. Then go into the first stitch, knit that, and then take them both off, and you'll see that they've swapped places. So that's how to do the left leaning cable if you're working the second side in the symmetric version. And I think that should give you all the information you need to complete clue 3. I will see you back here for a little video about clue 4.